Hi, I'm Paul Salmon. I'm a psychic medium. This evening, we're at the Cameo Hotel in Ipswich, where in a few minutes' time, Colin is going to demonstrate his mediumship ability. Let's have a chat with him before he takes to the stage. Reverend Colin Fry, hello, nice to see you again.
And you?
The Voices from Heaven tour, which is what you call this tour, I believe. Why is it such a different tour, or what makes it a different tour to what you've done before?
I don't think it is.
Isn't it?
I don't think it is. I think the challenge of what I do is 95% of what I do is my gift. But I of course have to realise that I'm going out and I'm doing halls and I'm doing theatres. And I suppose that I have to graciously accept that there's a small percentage of people that come to my evenings for, I suppose, what you call the entertainment value of it. So I think certainly over the course of the last 20 years, I've had to concede a little bit that I have to accommodate that entertainment part as well. So what I always say, I remember many years ago, a friend of mine said to me, he would been very close friends with a very famous medium called Mona Vandervat. She'd been a world famous medium, and they were in South Africa, and she was doing a demonstration in Cape Town. And when she came off, a young lady said to her, "Oh, Mrs. Vandervat, that was wonderful entertainment." And she said, "My dear," she said, "it may be entertaining, but it's not entertainment." And I think, personally, I think that's probably my attitude as well. I like to, if you've got anything from 300 up to 3,000 people, you have to make the evening entertaining. And I tend to tell my students as well, when I'm training students and saying, if you cannot perform a communication, it's going to be flat. Yeah. Even for the person who's the recipient of that. There are a number of ways of saying your mother loves you. And it can either be said with feeling, or it can be flat and meaningless. And I think, so I think it's very important that a communication has to be performed. You are, after all, as I tell my students all the time, you are that communicator's representative on earth while you are giving their message.
Yeah, I can understand. So.
But to go back to your original point, you can't reinvent the wheel.
No.
So really, I suppose each year is about really just coming up with a new title for the tour.
Yeah, are these not smaller venues this year?
I out of personal choice, I don't do the huge venues anymore.
You don't?
I stopped that about 4 years ago. My biggest venue now tends to be a maximum of about 1,000 people. That's the maximum.
I've got a way to go yet then.
I tend now to try and go for theatres somewhere between about 400 and 600, with a few slightly bigger ones a year. And again, really that was down to personal preference. I thought, I've done all these huge venues. And again, although you try to get the message across to everybody, when you're working with an audience of sort of over 1,000, it becomes more of a challenge. And I think when you're working with a smaller audience, or particularly when I'm working in churches with congregations, you have more ability to be able to draw everybody into what's happening. Right. Especially when you're working in sort of places like the Edinburgh Playhouse, which is over 3,000 people, and you're looking up into the gods, and all you can't even see where you're working.
No. But you're in Ipswich, Suffolk this evening.
I am indeed.
You're off to Glasgow in a few weeks' time, or next week. You're coming back to Essex and Suffolk again, and in between you've done Norway.
Yes.
Now, how on earth do you cope with this heavy workload?
Well, we recommenced the tour after the summer break on the 3rd of September. We finished on the 1st of December, and I've had about 4 days off in that.
God, grief. How do you relax? Can you relax? Well, you have all day to relax, I suppose.
Well, during the day, we usually driving to the next venue. But I'm fortunate, I have a crew, so other than a couple of days this week where I've been driving myself, I'm usually driven. So I tend to fall asleep in the van.
Do you?
Yeah, I can sleep on the edge of a pin. You know,
you're fortunate.
Yeah, I can sleep anywhere. You know, but again, I suppose that's a habit that I've got into.
Well, you've done it for so
over
long,
the
haven't
years.
you?
Yeah.
So, can I ask you, like you work this evening, you're going on after our interview. When do you get an actual link? Do you get one? Is it not until you go on stage, or have you got a link already?
There's no fixed rule of that. It can be at any point. I'll tell you a story that happened last year. We were out on tour and we were at a particular venue, and you'll understand, of course, I've got to change the names involved. But I was in the dressing room one night and I suddenly looked at my tour manager and went, "Sharon Smith?" And he said, "What on earth does that mean?" I said, "I've got a woman with me called Sharon Smith." We noted the time, it was 6:15. He said, "Oh, maybe it's a communication for tonight." I said, "No, it doesn't feel for tonight." And at 6:15, every night, for 2 weeks, this woman came into my head, Sharon Smith, 6:15, every night. And then one night I walked out onto the stage after about 2-3 weeks, and I looked out into the audience, and about 4 rows back, sitting over there was a woman, and I pointed out and said, "Your mother's name is Sharon Smith?" She went, "Yes." I said, "And you bought the tickets to come to the show at 6:15 Wednesday 3 weeks ago?" She said, "Yes, I did." I said, "I know, I've had your mother with me ever since you bought the tickets. From the moment you bought the tickets, I've had your mother with me at the same time every night." And then again, sometimes I can be getting ready in the morning to leave home and someone will just be there. And strangely, this has been happening a lot in probably about the last year. They will connect me at a time, and then when I go to deliver that message in the evening at the show, I'll say, "Your mother showed me that at 10:25 this morning you were," or one the other day, "Your mother's telling me that you were searching through the bottom drawer of the chest of drawers this morning at 11:15 for a photograph of her." She said, "Yes, I was." I said, "Yes, I know, because that's when she first connected to me."
Right. Okay.
So it's there is no fixed point, and there are other nights when I walk out on the stage and I'm doing my introduction. I'm thinking now would be a really good time to start talking to me.
Yeah. I know that bit.
And it's. I think I've become aware over the course of the years that there are nights when I don't even have to concentrate on it. My mind just goes into free fall. And I can be delivering a message and I'm not even, like us having a conversation here now, you have to think about what you're going to say. It's a very fast process, but we are all aware that when we speak, we're thinking about what we have to say. There's nights when I'm on stage and my mind is in such a free fall state that I'm not even consciously aware that I'm processing the words, they're just coming out. A number of years ago I worked at the Arthur Findlay College with a tutor, and we were sitting having a chat one evening after we'd been tutoring for the day, and we were debating the possibility that all mediumship is some form of controlled state. So even when we're working with mental mediumship, particularly when your mind goes into that free fall state, you're probably under some state of control.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're Reverend Colin Fry.
I am.
Why
I was
did
ordained 2 years ago.
And congratulations as well.
Thank you very much.
But what made you choose that decision to become a minister?
I think it was probably there in my mind for quite some time. And I always say I never speak for other mediums, I only ever speak for myself. But I came from a background of spiritualism. That was how I came into the movement, how I started going through spiritualist development circles, working and demonstrating in spiritualist churches. And for me, the mediumship has always been the act behind in front of me, the act that is the product of the belief. I think I felt for a very long time that it's more than just messages. And communication has to be a process or part of the process of healing. So, and my work as a medium, and I trained as a counsellor and I trained as a healer, has taken me to areas that has been outside of the public view. You know, when I've worked, counselling in hospices and done ministry work, for people that are spiritually distressed. And then my church first put the idea to me probably about 10, 11 years ago. And I was very honest, and I said, although I do feel as though I've got the calling for that, I am so involved with my tour and TV work that I don't feel it's the right time. And more I was getting called upon to do namings and blessings and funeral services. And then I turned 50 2 years ago, and I made the decision, and I contacted my church and I said I'd like to go for the ministry. And of course I was shown no preferential treatment. I had to go through exactly the same process as everybody else that had applied. And there was 12 people that applied, and of the 12 that applied, there was only 2 of us that were accepted.
Really?
My church has sort of quite strict criteria of what are the requirements to be a minister. You have to go through, you have to have shown a period of development and training. You certainly have to have a knowledge of spiritualism, and you have to be a healer or a registered medium. You have to have a counselling qualification.
Is this a Christian spiritualist church?
I'm with United Spiritualists.
United Spiritualists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And our ethos is the unification of all spiritualists.
Right. Okay. Why is Sweden so special to you?
I was first invited to go out and work in Sweden about 20 years ago at the Ransborgs College, Ransborgs Gardens College. And I tutored there, and then I became their principal tutor. And then they went into various stages of financial difficulty. We're going to close down, so I used everything that I'd made out of television and touring, and I rescued the place. Spent a small fortune on it. And then about 3 years ago, I gifted it back to the Swedish Spiritualist community.
Oh, right. Okay. It's strange sitting here with you now, because I watched you on TV this morning. Because it's about...
You're meant to at that point say that I haven't aged at all.
You haven't aged at all. I'm not sure if I should call you. It's not. I can't call you Colin. It's Reverend.
No, I'm not precious about it.
But I know it's strange. I watched you this morning and the morning before, 8 o'clock in the mornings. I forget which channel actually.
Pick TV.
Pick TV. Any chance of any more television work?
I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't do it, but. Television was something that just came along. I didn't ask for it, it was offered to me. I never expected The Sixth Sense to become as big as it did, and to lead on to all the other television work that I've done in the last 12 years. Not just in this country, but I've made TV series in Norway and in New Zealand. But my point always when I was doing television was I am a spiritualist medium. And although I appreciate that you are making a television series or series for a much broader audience, don't ask me to compromise. There were a few points during the time we were doing television when I did have to say, no, I will not do that. But overall, they seemed to accommodate where I was coming from. And so the types of things that I've been offered, I don't think it is what the public would expect of me. And with the greatest respect to people that are interested in paranormal investigation, I mean, it's just not my thing. No. And it does bother me. And funny enough, I was asked a question about this last night. It bothers me that this whole phenomena of paranormal investigation has become so hugely popular that I do worry at times that there are too many inexperienced people doing it, and they're like children with a stick poking a bee's nest.
So I've met a few of those.
I do wonder actually whether they actually completely understand what they're doing. You know, it's maybe I have been a part of the commercialisation of spirit communication. But you have to set a personal standard for yourself of what you will do and what you won't do, and what is dignified and what is respectful, and stick to that. And particularly now that I'm a minister, I think I have to stick to that ethos even more now than I want, than possibly once I did. So I mean, if I was offered another TV series like The Sixth Sense, yes, I would probably do it. I was asked to do a very similar series in Norway a couple of years ago called Den andre siden, which means the other side, which strangely was the working title for The Sixth Sense. But yes, I would probably do something like that again if I was asked, and certainly by the fact that it's been on television every day for the last 12 years, it certainly shows that it's still hugely popular.
Well, you're a popular man, you're a popular medium. Good luck for tonight.
Thank you.
I wish you all the well, all the best even.
Thank you.
Thanks for seeing us, and
My pleasure.
see you again one day, hopefully.
I hope so.
Cheers.